It's really hard to believe that build was 3 months ago. It really is. Like, feels like it was just yesterday. So, anyways, couple things before we get into whatever it is. Remember how I said I stopped using Newton because I was having Outlook Mail authentication issues, and then it happened in the Mail app. So then it wasn't Newton.
Right.
So I don't have a resolution for this yet, but I've been in contact with the greater Microsoft UFOs that fly above us, and they've actually confirmed that, hey, there is something actually wrong, and it's not just like placebo. Like, there's legitimately something wrong, and they're looking into it. So maybe I will give Newton another Newtonian chance.
I like it. I get it.
Yeah, you get it. So here we are. In the full transparency, folks, we had some fun last weekend. I think Paul and I woke up on, what was it, in the morning?
Morning? Saturday morning. Yep.
Saturday morning. Yeah, we woke up to our site was offline, which is, we live in an online world. Site being offline, not always the end of the world. Sometimes it's just whatever.
Cloudflare. It's just old-fashioned fun.
Sometimes it's just you forget to reboot the server. But this one was a little bit more serious. We actually had, in full transparency, a data breach. Now, we don't think that this is incredibly high-end serious, but there's a couple things I want to be really clear about. One, your passwords were were encrypted. So they've always been encrypted, and they will continue to be encrypted. We don't store any credit card database. We don't. We use a third-party processor for exactly this reason. We don't have your credit card information, and we don't want your credit card information unless you want to sign up for premium, but it goes through Stripe. We don't keep it. We do recommend you reset your password, but just, we're pretty much worked through this, but we figured out the issue. Thankfully, we have proper controls in place. We were back up and running within 2 hours, and life goes on. We joined the long list of people who have had people try to hold your stuff ransom for some Bitcoins. And here we are again. So
we had an unrelated outage on Tuesday, about 40 or 45 minutes right before we were going to post all of our build stuff. And of course, in the wake of what had happened over the weekend, it was a little concerning because, we took the time to make sure that everything was okay and whatever, and we thought we were on top of it. And as it turns out, it was a side effect of our reaction to what happened last weekend because we're doing a lot more backups now. And we overwhelmed the backup server.
Yeah, we increased our backup capacity because, for obvious reasons, like, hey, it happened once, maybe they're going to try again, and maybe we didn't plug all the holes we thought we did, and we thought we got everything figured out, and then we didn't increase the disk size. And so it just kind of pooped out and said, hey, you don't have any more disk. And so I'm just going to turn everything off, which was really...
I mean, so it's good that we can laugh about this because that one was... And we got it up 5 minutes before the deadline.
Yeah.
So that was fun too. But
yeah. So that's what we've been dealing with all week. But the good news is that just reset your password out of an abundance of caution. But at the end of the day, it's all encrypted data. But you can find more information. Paul's working on a post, and there's also a little bit more on Petri.com. You'll also be getting an email from us as well, just trying to be upfront and clear as possible and not sit on it for 3 months like some other companies have done.
Brad's post is up on Petri.com. I've been trying to put a forum post up since half an hour ago. I'm having a problem here. But I noticed something was wrong with the forums earlier today because when I went in to edit my Ask Paul post, which I do when I'm closing it down, I had trouble with that. And it eventually came up, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it was just me. I don't know, But I can't. I've tried 4 times now to post this information. So anyway, we get Harrison's working on it. Well,
I forgot to wire this up. There's a. This will be interesting too. So, since we're just talking through things live, Paul, did I mention that I rebuilt this whole system and that there were some audio issues earlier in the week, and I think they're all right, or whatever. Anyways,
this has come up. Yeah.
So we're broadcasting and streaming. Usually, it records. Right. I hit this little button over here that says record and it records it locally.
We might be not recording this one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. It's being recorded to YouTube because it saves the file, but I don't know if it's creating a local copy. It's not really that big of a deal at the end of the day. I just got to download it from YouTube, but I just realized that. But what I was going to do is you can also map this stuff up so we can bring in the chat room. I could hit a little fancy button.
Into what?
Like it would just show up on the stream. I'm just
really?
Playing with the features that
Yeah, let's give people another thing to hijack. I think that's
Everyone in the
can I
chat room's
post
always so
pornographic
nice.
GIFs or anything? Or
Oh god. Well, then we blame YouTube for
that
not
one?
having proper content moderation.
Right.
Actually, I don't even think you can upload GIFs onto YouTube chat. I think you can just type whatever. Yeah, so there's that. One thing else some people might be interested in, our boy Mahedi built this little thing called Windstalled.app. If you're familiar, I think it's called Ninite. Isn't that what it's called? The web service? So this is basically that, but uses the Windows Package Manager.
Right.
Neat little app. You just go and click the apps you want. You click download, you get the script, then you run the script, and it downloads everything you need. And that's all she wrote.
Yeah, it's cool. It looks great too. He's really good at this.
Yeah, no, he's good at what he does. And so we should have just played solitaire today. That would have been.
Oh boy, I turned on solitaire today, intending to take a screenshot of it, or I don't remember exactly. I was going to see what all the different game versions were. My God, it's turned into like this Las Vegas thing with like flashing lights and beeping and booping, and I mean, once you get in the game, it's fine. But I mean, my God, like the front end to it is like they really kind of ruined it. It's too bad.
Yeah, it's solitaire.
Maybe I'll make a .NET solitaire. That'll be the next thing.
That's a slight increase in complexity from a notepad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had a hard enough time with Notepad.
I didn't even know you'd built that, actually. I don't know why I said that. Just never brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes up,
And then I haven't read your post, so I'll just ask you here so you can explain it that way. I don't have to read it later. What did Microsoft actually say about PWAs at Build?
Wow. Well, so how do I condense this down? One of the things that's interesting about the move to a Chromium-based version of Edge is that Microsoft had previously been working on a bunch of things for PWAs and also for that WebView control that we mentioned the other day that were proprietary to Windows 10 and to Microsoft Edge. So now with the Chromium-based version, what they're doing is all standards-based, is maybe the right way to say it, web standards-based. So WebView 2, I don't know if this has changed, and it's one of those things I haven't looked into yet, but I remember one of the controversies about a year and a half ago was that Microsoft's developers were going to lose functionality if they moved from WebView to WebView 2, because there was just certain things you couldn't do in a non-native platform. And for that reason, they said that they would keep WebView available so developers could continue using the old version if they wanted, because it wouldn't provide a seamless way to switch over. But one of the great upsides to this move is that they can now pursue advances in PWAs with a coalition of other companies and web developers as web standards. That includes Google and Intel and I forget also some other companies. And they're working on features that will make these apps more native on all platforms, right? So, for example, file system access. If you think about the Notepad thing you were talking that I've been working on that you were just mentioning, if I wanted to make a web version of Notepad, you would want that thing to be able to register itself as the default application for text files, and you would want that thing to have seamless access to the file system because you have to read and write files, obviously, right? So those are two of the things that are coming to PWAs, not just on the new Edge, but on Chrome and other Chromium-based browsers and on other platforms, including Android and Chrome OS, wherever you see PWAs. The store functionality will continue if you want to get PWAs that way. They're going to enhance the way that they work from the web browser. They install as apps now. They show up in the start menu list. They support jump lists and push notifications, and it's just we had kind of a down year for PWAs. I think partially because Microsoft was making this transition, and there was no real reason to talk up, anything because it wouldn't be available anytime soon. But now it's ramping up again, and I think this is going to be a really good year for PWAs. So really interesting, and there's a great. If you're interested in this topic, I referenced it in the article I wrote, and I don't remember the name of it, but there's a great build session related to PWAs that everyone should watch. Really interesting stuff.
You're interesting stuff.
Thanks, man.
I don't really mean that, but
don't ruin the compliment.
The other sort of quasi big announcement, which has impacted me a couple times and is a bit frustrating, but happy it's there now. Edge Sync extension is now reaching general availability, which means using Edge on a new device no longer kind of screws things up. So,
Yep. That to me is the real release of this product.
yeah,
You
no,
know?
it really is.
I know there's a few other things that are not syncing, like I think history and probably open browser tabs. Those are, I mean, fairly minor. I agree they're necessary, right? But extension syncing, it's such a pain if you use multiple computers. And for someone like me, especially, like where you're reviewing computers and you're always logging in for the first time again. If you use Chrome, which again I don't recommend, but if you do, you sign into your extensions, they all kind of just appear across the top. It's really nice. Now that's going to happen on Edge as well.
Yeah, and I'm not ruling out that this isn't my own fault here, but I'm trying to figure out because it just happened again. So I use Edge on all my machines or whatever. I also use 1Password. That is my password management preferred platform. Somehow, and probably again my own fault, maybe it grabbed them from the old Edge, my passwords are in Edge as a password manager. Like they're in there. I can go there and see
They're
them.
actually in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can delete them one by one. And I've deleted them multiple times from different installs of Edge, but somewhere they keep syncing
Because
all
they
back.
keep
And
saying,
I can't find the source of truth.
this is this is actually very interesting. This is a bigger problem, and it's related to the way that syncing occurs to your Microsoft account, because this happens in Windows too. And what you can't do is go to some master copy of what you're syncing in either case and go there and say, no, I want this stuff gone. And so it's not clear. That thing probably exists, but Microsoft doesn't provide you with an interface to it. Yeah, I agree. This is a huge problem. On a semi-related note, I saw a headline that said something like, Microsoft Outlook will soon sync your, what do you call it? The signature file, whatever, your email signature across machines. And I thought to myself, this is exactly what's wrong with how Microsoft does sync right now. Like, it is nonsense how they add or do not add things to sync. If you're familiar with Microsoft Word, just Word, like part of Microsoft Office, there are a million tiny things that you can change in settings, in options. And you have to do it on every single machine you go to. Like, I want to use certain kinds of hyphens, or I always, when I type TH, I want it to go up to that little, the little, whatever you call it, little style. Whatever it is. And they just don't, and there's nowhere to go and see what syncs,
Can you hear me
And
clicking,
Windows
by the
10
way?
settings. Can I click? No.
Well, if anybody can hear me clicking or my wife dragging chairs across the wood floor or my kid, because whatever, there's no option in here to delete all saved passwords. Now, there is an option where you can turn it off to save passwords, right? You can turn that feature on and off, but when you turn it off, there's no way to actually delete. So now everybody can now listen to me clicking
As you go
on the
through
three
every
little ellipses or whatever it is, and then hit delete if you can actually hear that.
Yeah, so what they need is at whatever the Microsoft account website is, account.microsoft.com, a place where synced data is, and you can see for Windows 10, for Edge, for whatever else, Office, and you can go in and you should be able to, from that interface, delete and change things.
Yeah.
And just do it once, and you have the master in the cloud. That's the point of this. To me, it's one of the points.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Yep.
And watch, someone's probably going to tell us that it exists, but
It doesn't. It does not exist.
yeah,
I want to be wrong.
I
wish
want
it
to be wrong
existed.
too. I want to be able to go there and nuke it once and for all, because now there's only like 30 in there, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's the fact that I've now done it like 7 or 8 times that here we are.
Harrison took over my account. He asked me if he could, so that he could try to see what's wrong.
Yeah. For those who don't
gave
know, Harrison is our lead wizard / developer.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
very,
He's the
very,
new Tim.
very good. But yeah.
Anyway,
Good guy.
he gave me a comedic password. Let's just put it that way. I'll leave it at that.
So my favorite story involving passwords is, Todd Clint and
Oh yeah.
Do you know Shane Young? These two
Yep.
work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I've known these guys for years. Sorry.
Yeah. So they used to do consulting business together or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Shane, unknowing to Todd, used to make all the passwords Todd is ugly. That was his password for making all this stuff. And so sometimes, they'd lose accounts or whatever, or they'd have to call up the admin and tell them what the password to their server is. And Shane
Right.
finally told Todd that he'd had to call this guy and tell him that the password is Todd is ugly.
That's beautiful.
That is
beautiful.
It's great. It's great. So
okay. I can't tell this story without betraying who this is. Maybe I've known a guy in the Windows kind of blogger community since 20 years, literally since the 90s, over 20 years, I guess. And hey, you have to sometimes to get through to something, you have to put in like an address, like an email address. I always use this guy's email address. So I did, and I did this when I say always, I mean, for at least 15 years of my life, I entered this guy's email address every single time I went to one of these, any site that required that. So in the past year, I was talking to this guy. We were kind of catching up and everything. And he is no longer doing this kind of thing. He's doing whatever he does. And he said to me, he's like, it's amazing you're still doing this and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah. I said, don't you kind of miss it, or don't you, keep track or whatever? And he's like, yeah, I tried to, but I had to get rid of the email address I was using because I used to get so much spam from these sites I'd never visited. And I was like, yeah, that's a bitch. I didn't tell him that.
Oh, that is the only thing that's close to that. I've probably shared this at some point or another. In high school, I don't know if they still do this. I'm sure they do it in some capacity, but like when you're around graduating high school, the U.S. Armed Forces will call you at some point on like a recruiting drive. It's like, hey, you want to consider the Marines or whatever? They're out recruiting. I think it was the Marines or the Army, I can't remember, whoever it was, called me. And, this is before cell phones, like mom answers the phone and says, oh, I answer it, whatever. And they started asking me all the questions. And they said, do you know anybody who's interested? And I said, yeah, I've got this friend. He's really, really interested, but he's afraid to tell his parents. You got to give him some encouragement. And I gave him my friend's phone number. They called him for years.
Yikes.
Years, like weekly.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, they would basically until he was too old to be a Marine.
Pretty much. Like, what's it? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel bad for everyone who's ever met me. Anyway.
God, so what we got in the U.S. here on Monday? It is a holiday.
Right.
It's more time spent with our family, which is just going to be great.
Just what we need right now.
Yeah.
A timely 3-day weekend where we get, well, depending on where you go, I guess you could go somewhere. We don't have any place we could go.
No.
Other than to hell in a handbasket, I guess. But
there's been all these stories out about how Twitter and Facebook are going to let people permanently work from home, and remote working is now a thing. I try to tell it to my wife. I'm like, hey, remote working's a thing. We can get out of the house if you want. And she's still here.
Yeah. Well, she can't really.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Just, we could all use a little. It's not even social distancing. I just would like pure distance at this point. Just just a weekend of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we've talked about this. I mean,
yeah.
I think one of the really healthy things about us traveling for work the way we have is that time you have apart from your spouse and family. I mean, and I don't mean that like because we're terrible people and they're terrible. It's just, I think it's healthy to have that distance sometimes, and you're happy to see them when you come back. And I don't know, people get on each other's nerves when they're around each other too much,
Especially when you can't.
Brad's like, I know exactly what you mean, Paul.
Wasn't going to say it that way, but you're not wrong.
Despite that one, right? just bite that one off. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's part of the psychological problem here. Is that's why if you can walk, listen, listen to an audiobook or just listen to your own thoughts. Just get out of the house, if you can. It's so healthy just to get a little separation.
So our block, like when we take the dog on a walk, is like a circle, which is convenient because we always end up right where we started. And it's like, yep. Back home again.
Yep.
Yeah. Fortunately, it stopped raining, so I'll be able to cut the grass and fix all the ditches that I emergency trenched into my backyard because of the monsoon. Hey,
Okay, I'm sorry.
no, that's all I got. You got anything else for whatever day this is?
Um, I don't know. No, I'm gonna. I recommend everyone. We mentioned the build. I mentioned the build session stuff. I mean, go back and if you can and watch some of that stuff over time or whatever. I'm gonna spend some time with specific topics I need to catch up on this weekend if I can. And I've got all kinds of other stuff that I'm working on. None of it's all that interesting, but book stuff, developer stuff, Microsoft 365 stuff. Yeah, it should be a fun build weekend.
Oh yeah, just rip roaring. I guess Monday is we probably won't be podcasting Monday, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Right?
So
Off. Monday's a holiday.
yeah, I'll probably finally write the Surface Book 3 review that day. I think that's probably what I'll do since hopefully nobody's theory.
I've done that too. Right? I have a Dell XPS 13 review that I should be able to. I mean, I've written parts of, but I just got to get it out. I've written a big chunk of my Surface Go 2 review. I need to get it posted.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that nobody bothers me on Monday. That's kind of the
Yeah.
intent.
It should be the goal.
I think we're confirming no podcast on Monday because it's a holiday.
Yeah, it's a legit holiday. It's not like
not those fake ones that we take sometimes. Like, oh, it's the third Thursday of the year.
Arbor Day. Like, Brad, what is this schedule with all the holes in it? Like, it's like we're taking today off because it's like National Solitaire Day.
Don't forget Solid Blue Thursday. It's my favorite Solid Blue Thursday of the year. So, all right, everybody. Everybody else, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. And we'll be back Tuesday. Even though we just talked about it, I already forgot.
Yep. Whatever that is. 17 days from now or something.